Okay, so yeah, let me just introduce everybody. Emelia Hallett is a bilingual CELTA-qualified teacher and has taught in Spain, Taiwan, and Japan. Amy is a trilingual TESOL-qualified teacher and has taught in Taiwan and Japan. And Gina is teaching with Amy, right?
Also
Yes.
trilingual.
Also trilingual. Great. Okay, you could take the floor, all yours. Have fun.
Sure, thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. So, as Ellie just said, we're all teachers at the same school. Actually, we work at different locations, but we have a weekly meeting, OPD meeting, where we discuss different ideas and what things are going well for us, what things aren't going so well. So about a year ago, we started to think about what was really important when teaching young learners, what things we really needed to focus on. And we came to the conclusion that engagement is probably the most important thing when teaching young learners. If our learners aren't engaged, they can't learn anything. So moving forward from that, we started to develop a new program based on a variety of approaches to teach young learners. Thinking about engagement, we thought that maybe choice is one of the key elements of engaging young learners. So I think everyone can understand that we all work well when we have a choice about what we are doing. I think choice is a great intrinsic motivator and can help really motivate learners to enjoy what they're doing. Of course, when we say leaving textbooks behind, we don't want to think that textbooks are bad. That's not what we're saying. But textbooks are written for a purpose, and maybe that purpose doesn't help every student. So moving away from textbooks, we mean incorporating textbooks into a wider curriculum that includes several different approaches. As you probably know, Japanese education is traditionally heavily focused on textbooks. I think that education law, at least until recently, said that textbooks had to be used in every lesson. However, recently things have started to change in Japan, and we want to be ahead of the curve on that. So we want to start introducing skills-based learning. Now, you probably know we are hearing a lot about 21st century skills. Actually, I don't think most of these skills are new. They've been around for a long time. But by 20th century skills, we mean things like collaboration or teamwork, research, critical thinking, problem solving. And we want our students to develop their skills as well as their knowledge. So we want to focus on communication and expressing ourselves. We also want to include some cross-curricular activities. So we feel that we are lucky teaching English. English isn't just an end goal. It can be used in a variety of ways to learn different things. From a business point of view, using a textbook, unless you create it yourself, can't be a unique selling point. There's nothing stopping someone down the road using the same textbook. So we wanted to make a program that can be more unique, that can have more unique elements. Also, I think it's important to note that nowadays in Japan, English level doesn't have a big impact on economic prospects, at least compared to in other Southeast Asian countries. So many students come not only to learn English, but to develop other skills too. So we wanted to create a student-centered skills approach, and engagement is our top priority. We're doing this through introducing several different approaches. The first one is a monthly theme. So every month we have chosen a different topic. This is a content-based topic, not a language-based target. So for example, we've looked at food, animals, the environment. The idea of this is to give students a chance to explore topics that aren't usually focused on in a textbook. Also, we're using a spiral curriculum. So every year the students will learn the same topic, focus on the same topic. But of course, the content of what they're learning will gradually get more difficult. We think generally this is a good way to improve motivation and help students retain knowledge. Again, we want to give our students as much choice as possible. So within the class, teachers are encouraged to let students choose activities as far as possible. And teachers are also free to choose activities that they think benefit the students most. We're obviously using elements from other subjects too. So when we're learning about animals, students will come into contact with geography and science. And when we're learning about the environment, we can talk about SDGs and other important topics. And we're trying to include skills wherever possible. So there's a really big focus on teamwork. So now, Amy, could you tell us a bit about what you've been doing with your students?
Right.
The monthly themes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Emmy. So this one is our first theme last year. It's about animals. You can see this is one of our animal worksheets. So we have a variety of worksheets with different animals, and the students, they get to choose what animals they want to do research on. So the students, they have to look up information about the animals, find the answer themselves, and color the animals and present their work to the class. So this one, I have some of the works done by my student. This one is about cheetah. This one is about brown bear. So yeah, like throughout the activity, students are very engaged when looking up information about animals, and they learn new things at the end of the day. More engaged than using textbooks, of course, I would say. And so I will be showing a video of us using picture dictionary to find answers in class. So this class, they're about 10 to 11 years old.
Yeah, there you go. Good job. Very good. Yeah, elephants. Good job on the elephants. Live in where?
Okay, great. I'd just like to address the Japanese speaking, if I could. So I know that there are various different ideas about using L1 in class, but we feel that our aim is to increase students' use of English rather than decrease their use of L1. So we don't have any policy which prevents students from communicating in Japanese. Of course, at the end, we hope that they will express themselves in English, but we also hope that they will learn something useful. We don't want to prevent them from learning anything, even if it's in Japanese. Also, we feel that this mimics real life situations. I think that in most companies, if monolingual people are working together, I mean, people of the same language are working together on a presentation, they will use their L1 to communicate, but still be able to deliver a presentation in English. And so far, we think that it's worked well. I haven't had any problems with students not being able to communicate in English. Actually, in some other schools, that I've worked in with a no Japanese policy, students just remain silent. And we feel that that's the worst thing. So I hope that helps address why the students seem to be speaking quite a lot of Japanese in that video.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, and a lot of my students, they brought their worksheet home and they read it to their parents, like they're very proud of their work. So it's totally fine for them to use Japanese in class, look up information. And for activities, we built a zoo together. So the idea was the kids can build zoo however they like. And in the end, they give a zoo tour by using the knowledge and vocabulary they've learned from the worksheet. And next, we also have shopping. Yay. So in this activity, we focus a lot on counting numbers, simple math, asking questions, and creating conversations. So every student, they get to be a store owner at least once. They get to choose what they want to sell and set prices. And as for the rest, they get Monopoly money and coins so they can go shopping. We also did family. So in this month, we did family tree, introducing your family members and practice using pronouns. So I have a short video of one of my students. She is 7 years old, introducing her family members to her class.
This is my mom. This is my me. This is my sister.
Right, yeah, very cute. She said, "This is my me." Right. And then next we will be talking about our physical library and online library. Gina?
So we have this library where kids can choose books. As Amy was mentioning, choice is really good at motivating kids or getting them more engaged because they chose this themselves. It could be a small choice or a big choice. So sometimes we pick out a book to read in class and the kids can choose which book they want to read. Another thing we have in this physical library is you can lend out books to the kids and they have to sign out the book by writing on this sheet you can see here in the lower right, which is also writing practice. So the physical library is really good, but you have another choice here. You can use a digital library. Sometimes I ask the kids if they want to read a paper book or digital book. And with the physical library, there are some limitations into how many books you can have in your space, but a digital library can have a lot more books because they don't have to take up any physical space. So you need a screen to show the books on, and it's better if you have a large screen so everyone can see it once. In some of our classrooms, we have a projector, so we can project it on the wall, but it's not a touch screen. So in one class, I was able to convince the kids that they could scroll through the books projected on the wall like a touch screen, but actually I was controlling it from a tablet. Usually the kids get to choose the book and I can have some input as the teacher, like maybe this book is too easy or that book is too hard for this class right now because we don't want to spend the entire class reading it. Can I show you the library that we use? All right. Here's a lot of books. You can
Excuse me,
see.
Gina. I think we're
Yes.
still seeing Amy's
Oh, you're still seeing
screen.
Amy's?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, there you go.
All right. So I can scroll through and you can see there's quite a selection of books. You can limit your selection to more difficult books. You can find out more about the book before you open it. But often I just let them choose any book they want, and if it's too easy, well, we'll read more than one.
Lizzie and her mum are at the zoo. There are lots of animals.
I think you can hear the website will read the book to you. So we have a few choices how to use these books. You can turn off the audio and have the kids read it aloud in class. You can read it to them if it's a little bit higher level. Or they can just listen to the audio and autoplay the entire book and have the book read to them without the teacher or parent having to read it. Let's go back to Amy's slide. So it's very, very convenient. You can also, some advantages of the digital library, it could have features like stats that the teacher can see how many books the kids read, or assigning books for them to read at home. Quizzes or games or other things like that. And we also have some nonfiction books here, which we can use. Some of them have crafts or recipes. And in this case, you can see we did a craft out of one of the books in the library for our spring craft activity. And I think it worked out really well. And kids are pretty excited to read off the big screen. And actually, one of the advantages of projecting onto the whiteboard is you can draw. Sometimes they enjoy tracing the pictures or adding to the pictures. It can be a really good time. So even if I give them a choice, do you want to read a book today or play a game today? Well, sometimes they choose game, but of course, sometimes they choose a book. Right. Back to you, Amy.
Sorry. Next, we want to talk about class competitions. So another strategy we've started using to increase student engagement in our classes is a class competition. By this, we mean each class is a team and they compete against other classes. This is across the school, so all elementary school students are in the same competition. And the idea is that we want to promote teamwork, working together. So I think it's quite common for teachers to use individual competitions, but we wanted to enforce teamwork in our schools. So the classes are one team. We know this is an extrinsic motivation. We think that's not necessarily a bad thing. So of course, the students want to win the prize at the end of the competition, but actually at this point, they don't know what the prize is. So they will get a prize before summer, but as far as I know, no one has mentioned what the prize will be. We also feel that eventually through this extrinsic motivation, students will want to do it by themselves. Maybe it's a bit like playing sport. So at the moment, Wimbledon is on. We can see both extrinsic and intrinsic motivations I think a lot of tennis players play tennis because they want to win, they want the prize. But also to be good at tennis, they need motivation from within themselves. As another point about extrinsic motivation, I just add that almost everything we do in life is motivated extrinsically. So as much as I love my job, I work because I get paid. And the same is probably true for our kids. Maybe they want to learn English, but a little bit of support along the way, a bit of a prize is probably a good thing. So for our class competition, we have 3 targets. The first target is we worked well together. This means the class are collaborating together, using teamwork, not fighting and not being mean or unkind to each other. The second target is simply we did it. Basically, this means we finished our work. The teacher has freedom to choose what this means. So this might mean doing a page of the textbook and a phonics worksheet and a bit of monthly theme. It might be all working together on a project. Often I think teachers also include homework in this target. So that's a choice. The third target is we read a book. Again, at our school, we are moving away from phonics books and towards reading. But in order for students to benefit from reading books, we feel that they need to do it often. So again, a little bit of motivation to read a book every week has a really positive effect on their reading level. Of course, in other situations, we could change the targets to meet the student needs. Also the students receive Japanese explanations of the targets. So we are sure that they understand what is expected of them. Amy, could you tell us a little bit about the class competitions, please?
Right, yes, thank you. So the next slide I'm going to show you is, these are the logos that all of our students made. So each class, they get to decide their own team name and design a team logo. So they have to work together to make this little token here that represent them as a team. So here we have Team Happy Tree, Team Star, Team Activity, Team Let's Try, Team Good, Team English, Team Fish. And yes, like Emmy said, none of our students know what the prizes are, but they definitely want to, move to the top. They want to win this. And a lot of my students, they pretend or they act like they don't really care about this competition. But every week they're constantly checking other teams' progress. So they care. And with my experience is that a lot of my kids, they really stopped fighting and started helping each other because they want to get full points at the end of the lesson. So it's been great personal experience. Gina, what about your class?
Oh yes, they really want to get all the points.
Sorry, I think.
Okay.
Oh, and I could say sometimes they're really eager to read a book. If we didn't do much reading in that class, say, oh no, we don't get that point. I say, quick, read this.
Yeah. Yes. So it's really changing the classroom.
But could I just add that I found that peer reinforcement is much better than teacher reinforcement. Often when a teacher asks a student to do something, get your book out, come and sit down, it's difficult for them. But when their peers, when their classmates say, come on, let's sit down, they seem much happier, much more enthusiastic to do it. So the class competition also gives other students a motivation to improve the behavior or the engagement of their classmates. So next, let's talk about projects and presentations. So as part of our monthly themes, we've started doing project work, and that's led to our first presentation last week. Of course, the idea of project work is that it gives students a really good chance to work together towards a common goal. And we've done projects in different ways. In general, with the younger students, I think they've mainly been on paper, so posters. But with some of the older students, they've started using PPTs or Google Slides. Of course, that's really good for improving their computer skills. And it ties in with what they're doing at school. I think, as everyone knows, every elementary school student now has a device of some kind, an iPad or a Chromebook to use. So we want to use that as much as possible in our school too. The presentations are student-led, by which we mean the teacher will often give an overriding topic, but the students can choose what they want to focus on within that topic. So most recently, our monthly theme was food. And for our project, my students mainly chose to design their own restaurants. So they drew the outside of the restaurant and the menu. But I think Amy and Gina's students did different things. So I remember one of them did different types of sushi, and other students did a presentation about how to make takoyaki, which I think we will watch in a minute. So giving students the ability to choose what they want to do, of course, makes it more fun. They're more motivated. Also, students are given a chance to use the skills that they're good at. I think we can often see students in our class who maybe their English isn't that great, they struggle, but they're really good at drawing or they're really creative. We want to give them a chance to use these skills. So through project work, they can. And I've been particularly impressed at how my students have worked together and delegated tasks fitting student strengths to create really good work. From a business point of view, also, presentations are great to show parents. So with monthly themes, we have portfolios which students take home. So worksheets parents can see. But it's often quite difficult as an eikaiwa to show parents how well students can communicate. A presentation is a great way of showing the parents that their kids can actually speak English. Of course, presentation skills are also, I think, becoming more important. As far as I'm aware, recently, the skill of fluency is kind of separated into expression and presentation. So we should probably look at presentation as a separate skill and one that is important for the future too. I think in general, when I have junior high school students, they're scared of presenting. They don't want to stand up and present. So if we can introduce the children to presenting when they're still young, they will become more accustomed to it and better at it in the future, I think. So Amy, could you show us some of the work that your students have done in their presentation?
Yes,
project
of course.
work, please.
Right. So like Emmy has mentioned that June, we're doing food. That's our monthly theme. So basically they get to decide, how they can decide how they want to present. They can do posters, PowerPoint slide. So the main idea is that they can work together as a team and learn something new at the end of the day and to be proud of their work. And so I will show you a presentation of one of my classes. They were about 9 to 10 years old, and they were doing takoyaki.
Hello, I'm Carter. He is Shuji. She is Lily. We are going to talk about octopus balls today. Octopus. 1. Butter. 2. Green onions. to make octopus ball. 1. Butter in. 2. Octopus in. 3. Green onion in. 4. Octopus in. 5. Move the octopus ball. Thank you.
Yes, so this is actually one of my most challenging classes because they're always fighting, always fighting. So yeah, but they work really well together throughout this whole presentation. And they put this great presentation together. I think it's great. I was very proud of them.
Yeah, great. I think another thing that's really great with this presentation is we can see the kids aren't using perfect grammar. I found quite often with my adult students, they are scared of saying anything because they're worried that their grammar isn't correct. These kids are standing up and telling us how to make octopus balls, and we can understand perfectly. But the language that they're using is quite simple. I think that's a really good skill to be able to express yourself simply and not worry so much about the grammar.
Yeah, and a lot of them, they're not scared. They're not afraid of doing it. They had fun, actually. Yes. And I think that's it.
Yeah, so
there.
Yeah, so now we'd like to open up the floor for anyone to share your experiences of what you've done outside textbooks, or ask us any questions, please. I can see Renee, I hope I'm saying your name right, has asked how many kids per class? And I think the maximum is 6.
6.
An average of 4 to 6, I think.
If you guys want to ask questions, you can use the chat box, or you can raise your hand physically, or use the raise hand button down on the bottom of your screen. I have a question about the library. You said you can assign books to your students. Can you assign one book to multiple students?
Yes, you can assign one book to the whole class, or I think you can choose individual students. I haven't tried that.
That's great. That's a very practical way of assigning a book reading activity to everyone.
And also in our physical library, students can take books home too, so they have multiple ways of engaging with books.
Yes, true. When it's digital, they can all take home the same book.
Yeah, that's true.
That
Renee is asking if it's free or if it's for a subscription fee.
I think it's free the first month.
Yeah, I think it's subscription, but there's a free trial, so you can try it and see if it works for your students.
We can also assign videos on Kokoko to some of our younger learners. Yeah.
So I think since we started doing this more broader program about 6 months ago, maybe, I'm not sure if my time is right.
About 6 months ago.
About 6 months ago, my students have been so much happier in class. They're really excited. And also they feel freer to express themselves, I think. So they will say, I want to play this, or I don't want to do that, which is great. feel young kids should be able to express themselves. I think there's another question.
Yeah, Simon is asking about the portfolio. Could you explain it?
So the portfolio is a folder we give to each student in which they can store the work they're doing in class. And this includes phonics worksheets. So we've stopped using phonics books in class, and instead teachers can choose worksheets from a collection of worksheets which they feel most benefit their students. So they go in the portfolio. Also, all worksheets which are connected to monthly themes. So like earlier, we saw the animal worksheets. They would be put in the portfolio. Students take the portfolio home, their parents look at it, and then they bring it back every lesson. The portfolios also belong to the students, so they are free to decorate them. I think some kids have really taken time to make their portfolios look special. Maybe you can see a picture on the first slide. This is a very beautiful portfolio, the top one, definitely. And I can see Amy is on.
Yes.
Is on the portfolio.
Right.
So I think it also creates a sense of pride in their work. This is my work. Amy or Gina, do you want to add anything about portfolios?
I think the idea of a portfolio is to show they've created something. So we do a lot of different activities, and they don't always result in a physical paper we can add to the portfolio, but a lot of them do. And try and showcase their creativity and include English.
Yeah, so I've also,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Amy.
Sorry. A lot of time my kids will pull out their portfolio and ask, can we do this again? Can we do that again? Yeah, they're proud of it.
I was just going to add that I've also included photos of project work we've been doing in the portfolio. So parents can see a photo of the finished poster and how the kids were working on it. So that helps a bit with keeping parents involved in the learning process. I think Rene has another question. So we're part of a franchise of schools, and I work at a different branch or a different franchise to Amy and Gina. Amy and Gina are the only native English teachers at their school, but we work together through online OPD meetings every week to develop strategies that we share across the schools. Does anyone else have any experience of doing activities outside of textbooks? Or how do you feel about textbooks? Do you like them? Do you often use textbooks?
I also use textbooks, and I also use portfolios. I think it's really a great way to tell the students that they can do this. They can come up with something like this in English, and it also gives the teacher the idea of how far their students could do something in English, right?
Good. Josephine is asking about what we usually do for our monthly themes. And she says, any ideas for kids from 3 years to 5 years? So what we've been talking about today is elementary school kids, so 6 years to 12 years old. But I think that you could also use monthly themes for younger kids. Of course, you just need the work to be easier. So some of our monthly themes so far have been food, animals, numbers and shapes, so kind of numeracy, the environment. Anything else? Amy, Gina?
One was family, we saw.
Yeah, family, or yeah.
And the environment can be like the earth or nature or things around you, like your school, your house, your neighborhood.
At the months when we were doing shopping, I also did it with my younger learners from 3 to 5. Just, easy counting. This is $5, and you have to give me 5 coins. So you can completely do that. You can probably do that. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so I think most activities here, although aimed at elementary school kids, can be adapted for kindergarten or junior high kids quite easily. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Thanks. Rana has given us some good themes. So bugs. Seasons. Seeds. Yeah, a great idea in summer. Yeah, so I think it's a good idea to try and pick monthly themes that go a bit with the seasons. So I think in October, we are planning on doing nature. So hopefully we'll be able to take the kids outside by October.
I'd like to say that spiraling your curriculum sounds really good, and my question is, how do you go with the spiraling? Like, I know you introduced the same topics a couple of times in elementary school. What's the difficulty like when they get to higher grades?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Actually, at the moment, we don't have any set rules for how difficult the work is. So it's down to the teachers to choose appropriate activities for their students. But for example, in a presentation, first grade or second grade students maybe just drew some pictures of food and pointed and said, this is pizza, or this is pasta. But by the upper grades of elementary school, we encourage them to use, say, a lot more vocabulary. So they were saying, for example, you need to use something to make, or this is my restaurant, it looks beautiful. I think we want to focus on natural English too. So we don't give set language targets for our monthly themes. Of course, textbooks always have a language target, which is great for a textbook, but we want our students to acquire natural English too. Amy or Gina, do you want to add anything?
And so with all the activities that we did, we want them to use the conversation naturally, right? Instead of, just reading the textbook or using the set language. We want them to create conversations and ask questions by themselves.
Yeah, I think it's a good motivation for them to come up with something they want to say in English, because they have to say something when they present about their restaurant or their food they've chosen. It's not just a fill in the blanks exercise from the textbook. It can be as simple as that, but it's more personal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite pleased to see through looking at the comments that actually most people here don't use textbooks so much. So that's a relief for us.
Okay, I think that's it for your presentation. Thank you very much. Could we give them a round of applause, please?